Good morning, good morning. Happy Winning Wednesday. I'm coming to you from a little bit different area. I just finished my workout, so read a little out of breath. But I just wanted to expand a little bit on the happiness trap. So, if you got my email on Monday, I talked a little bit about happiness and how it's we have so our society has pretty much conditioned us to always want more. We want the promotion, or we want to lose the extra weight, or we want to find the perfect partner, or when we make $1 million, that's when we'll be happy. And so it's like keeping up with the Joneses. We're like constantly keeping up with people around us and our neighbors, and like we see the shiny object, and we tell ourselves that I won't be happy until I get that thing. So we are living in this perpetual state of I'll be happy when. So when we're constantly chasing that next milestone or the next achievement, or whatever it is, the external validation. So we are essentially putting ourselves in a waiting period. We're not allowing ourselves to really live in the moment and experience the life that we have built around us right now. So what I found really, really interesting is so I'm doing positive intelligence. And essentially, what this means is I'm taking, I'm labeling the thoughts that come into my head that are not necessarily positive, like they're perceived to be negative. So we talked, in the past about our four voices, um, how that we're living our lives based on this internal judge or this internal critic, or our ego or our inner child. So we have all these things that are going on inside of our head that will tell us things that are not exactly good for us to constantly hear. And again, society has raised us in this negative light where we are focusing on the negative things. We have a report card, or um, you have like all A's and then one like C. So the thing that you focus on immediately when you get this report card is going to first be the negative. More than likely, because we've been conditioned to always look at the negative things first. So we're living our lives in this perpetual state of negativity, and essentially holding ourselves back from being happy. So the trap is, and the studies that really kind of, it's discouraging, I guess I should say, is that the majority of people that are on their deathbed, and we've heard this before, that the majority of people that are on their deathbed are not looking at the things that they did do with regret. They're looking at the things that they didn't do, or the working too much rather than spending the time with their family, or they're essentially on their deathbeds, dying, still in that state of I'll be happy when. So they wish, that they pursued their passions, or, really truly lived their lives instead of waiting for some elusive future happiness. So when we fall into this trap, and this is even like our subconscious mind, like our inner child and our subconscious is always wanting more. It wants the next thing, the next level of success, the next, the perfect life. And even though our subconscious is wired for survival, it's essentially what it's doing is it's trying to get more resources. So it thinks that if it collects these more resources, it'll get more security and in turn get more pleasure. But that pursuit, that relentless pursuit, it leaves us feeling, empty and unfulfilled. And even if we achieve something and we're really happy about the thing that we got, like we, graduated college at the top of our class, like that only lasts for a small amount of time before we fall back into this, negative emotion or, habit that we've conditioned our essentially conditioned our minds and our bodies to, keep rolling over and over. So when we look at, our emotions and our choices and um like all of our past habits. So with the subconscious mind, it if it perceives the end result to be more uncomfortable than the current result or the current life that you're living right now, it's essentially going to sabotage you to where you're not going to get to where you want to go, or you'll never actually be happy when you get there. And when we are um sorry, I lost my train of thought here. So yes, subconscious mind is going to sabotage you if it perceives the end result to be more uncomfortable. Now, really change is not going to happen unless your current life, the way that you are living right now, is more uncomfortable than the change that needs to take place in order to get to the goal that you're trying to get to. So going back to, like biology or neurology. So our circuitry, our neurochemistry, our hormones, and our gene expression, it's equal to how we think and how we act and how we feel. And of course, how we think and how we act and how we feel, that's called our personality. And our personality is what creates our personal reality. So if the present personality and the reality that you call life, if you want to create a new life, you have to change your personality. You have to assume a new identity. You have to start thinking in a new way. So when you begin to become conscious of your unconscious actions or your habits or your behaviors, so this is where that positive intelligence comes in, you're naming things that come up, you're taking the pressure off of them. When you're saying things to yourself like, oh, I'm not good enough, and that's why I'm not getting this thing, or it's not fair, or these things happen to me, the things in the past, and it's just a repeat, and you're in this repeat, you're in this pattern, you're in this cycle that keeps going on and on and on and on. If you're not becoming aware of your thoughts that are going on in your head and consciously naming them, you're going to continue to go through that pattern and continue to think those thoughts, and they're, further creating the pathways in your brain, your neurocircuitry, your neurons, the myelin sheaths get bigger. It's more like a big highway of negative thoughts that continue to go through your head. So when you name them, like, I'm thinking that I'm unworthy of this huge goal, or that I don't deserve something. Instead, changing it to, well, my judge, my critic, my inner ego, it thinks that I'm not worthy. I'm not deserving of this goal. It takes the pressure off, and then you kind of realize, like, how you're talking to yourself, because how you're talking to yourself is more than likely something that you would never say to somebody that you like, to a friend. So again, if you can notice it and notice how you are talking to yourself, then you can change um, that inner dialogue. And then it starts to change more to a positive thing, that this is not me that's thinking this. This is an inner voice that's telling me this. And this is not, conducive to my well being, or it's not helpful. So then you get to release it. And then you start to make those neural pathways that are towards the positive thinking, the positive thoughts, a lot stronger, and then feeding less to the negative pathways, the negative, like that super highway that you've built because we've all been conditioned to think the negative. That starts to whittle down from a 6 lane highway to maybe like a 4 lane, and then a 3 lane, and then a 2 lane, and then a 1 lane, and then a little piddly dirt road, and then it eventually goes away. So the more positive that you're thinking, yes, the more positivity will come into your life, and the more you'll look at the life that you have right now with gratitude. When you start to think in this way, your past experiences start to become, you know, things that shaped you, and you express more gratitude for the things in the past that have happened to you, because it's more, it's made you into who you are. And this is pretty much the catalyst, the changing point when somebody is on a spiritual journey, especially when I'm coaching my clients and going through the hypnosis or the coaching. We're getting to a point where it's like, you're banging your head. You're like, this isn't working. Oh my gosh, like I just need to break through, and it's not happening for me, but it's frustrating, and you're like sitting just right underneath the surface until you finally break through. And then you look at the end of look at all the things that have happened in your life, good and bad, with gratitude, and you're like, holy crap, like I'm actually grateful for the time that I had this terrible relationship that completely demolished me, and I'm grateful for all this time and struggle so that I can experience this. So thinking about this, like you've been going on this way for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years of your life. It's not a one and done process. Like the actual process, like I can accelerate, this is going a step further than just, thinking positive every day and noting what's coming up for you. That is a very slow and drawn out process. But I can speed this up for you, and this is where I get to that point where we're looking at specific things where we're questioning our thoughts, our conscious thoughts, and what our thoughts that are coming up. And then we're going through releases for each of these emotions so that we can get you to that result a lot quicker. So, it's what most people don't want, when they're thinking differently or they're making a new choice. Most people don't want to face, the discomfort. And, in that discomfort is the uncertainty and the, lack of predictability, the unknown. So that's what people are afraid of. Because, they'd rather live in this guilt or this emotion that, was developed based on a past experience, past, all their habits that they've constructed So when you say you've been like this for, 30, 40 years, and, that's because of one event. It's this event that basically created a trauma response. It created a emotion. It's the emotion that you felt from that reaction, from that event. And the more altered that emotion that you felt inside, the more the brain narrows down its focus and it freezes that image, and it's like a snapshot of it. And that's what we call memories. So, you know, it's not about erasing the memory. It's not about going back to that memory and, saying it didn't happen, because that memory is always going to be that snapshot is always going to be there, but it's mainly because of the emotion that you felt at that time, and the way your body felt that emotion as well, because it's the emotion that actually keeps you anchored to the past, to that event, to that trauma. And yes, it sounds good theoretically, like when you are stepping out into the unknown, the body really is in a habit. And, you know, a habit is when the body becomes the mind. Or if you're, thinking about a past event and it's producing that emotion, well, you have that image and you're starting to feel the conditioning process. So the body is either conditioned into a familiar past, it's hardwired in the predictable future. It's not going to want to change because, it wakes up every single day, runs through the same series and routines and actions. And if it's more used to that, that's when you fall into that cycle. That's when you fall into that pattern. That's why when you have something that triggers you and you have a reaction to it, whether you are consciously aware of the trigger or not, or, what even happened? Why did I fly off the handle? I don't even remember what was said. It's that emotion. So when we go back and we release the emotion behind it, so that the actual event, the memory, is no longer emotionally charged, then you will go through the future events and that emotion is not there anymore. So then you're able to react in a different way. It's not something that brings you down, instead of something that, in the past might have caused you to react in a certain way, do a certain thing, or, retract. So that's all to say is our emotions are basically the direct driver behind everything that we do, everything that we feel. Our body is our subconscious mind. So our emotions are going to cause a physical reaction in our body as well. So your emotions are also tied to a lot of ailments that you may have. And this is getting into a little bit of the sciencey aspect of it. But when you have trapped emotions, trapped traumas inside of your body, that's generally what causes sickness, disease, cancers, pains, like a lot of digestive issues. About 90%, probably even more than that, maybe even 98% of digestive issues are tied to emotions. Now think about it. If you have like a worry about something and you feel it in your guts, and perhaps like me personally, like if there was a big event coming up that I was unsure about, like if I had like a public speaking arrangement, or I had going to court. The day before, it would be, like on the toilet. And sorry if that's TMI. I work in healthcare, so TMI is not a thing for me, but I would be on the toilet the night before and the morning of. So when you say that that emotion is tied to your physical body responses, that is a prime example of that what you're feeling is what your body is going to feel. That emotion that you're feeling is what your body's going to feel. So when we start to change, we release the old emotions, we start to change and acknowledge and look at things that are coming up in our day-to-day life. And then we can even visually forecast. So we go into the future and we look at a event that if it had happened in the past, we would have a negative response to it. And in that event, if we forecast it to happen in a different way, or we do a different thing, we give ourselves grace, or we even anchor in something that will pull us out of that, then we can create a more positive future. And we can take off the emotions, off of the body, off of the mind, and rewire those neural pathways to live in a more positive life. So let's do some homework. Actually, let's do some homework. So what I want you to do is keep a journal or keep a notepad on your phone or whatever. Anytime that you feel some sort of negative emotion or you talk down to yourself, I want you to write in that journal. And in that journal, I want you to, if you want to label it, you can label it as, my judge says, my inner critic says, that I'm too stupid to do this, or something like that, right? And then when you do that, you start to take off the charge around it. So for the rest of the week, you can even start now. If you want to put it in the comments, if you feel brave, label what's coming up for you, or write down what's coming up for you. And if you want it like extra credit, label it as this entity, this voice inside of your head that's telling you that, not you. And then let's see by the end of the week how much it's changed your perception of things, your perspective. All right. I love you guys, and I will see you next Wednesday. And also keep an eye out. I am going to be posting about my next summit, where we have a couple speakers that are going to be talking about things around the same kind of stuff too. So that's coming up on the 28th of August. So I hope you are able to join me then. And I appreciate you watching this video and spending your Wednesday with me. Bye.